Is Wednesday, February 26, 2014, and this is the Village of Vernon Hills Planning and Zoning Commission. I'll take a roll call first. Chairman Morris, Mr. Ballou.
Present.
Ms. Cotton.
Here.
Mr. Hesner.
Here.
Mr. Heidner.
Here.
Mr. Mulcrone.
Here.
Mr. Gorog.
Here.
We have a quorum. I need a motion to appoint an acting chairperson for tonight's meeting.
So moved.
Who?
You have to.
I nominate Mr. Heidner, Commissioner Heidner, to preside over today's hearing.
Any comments? All those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Those opposed? Thank you.
Okay, tonight we have a public hearing on the agenda. It's case number 1401, petition filed by Companion Animal Hospital LLC of Libertyville, requesting to amend the conditions of approval in existing special use permit as set forth in ordinance 2006-77 to eliminate condition number 11, which prohibited any special use on this property, which the property we're referring to is, do we have an address on that, Joe?
Yeah, 1101 North Milwaukee Avenue.
Okay. And to approve of a special use permit to allow an animal hospital to be located in suite number 101 of that facility. Can I ask who's going to present on part of the petitioner? If they would all come forward, who's going to speak tonight? We'll swear you in. Will you raise your right hand, please? Do you promise that everything you say today is true and free of significant omissions?
Yes.
Okay.
Mr. Chairman, you want an overview real quick on this?
Sure.
Thank you. Tonight, you are asked to consider two items as a part of this petition. First is to amend the existing special use permit that was approved under Ordinance 2006-77 to eliminate Condition 11, which prohibited any special uses on this property. As you will recall, when the shopping center was first under development, or considered for development, I should say, there wasn't any specific uses or special uses that were designated at that location. And I think, I reviewed the testimony of the commission and the petitioner at that point, and I think basically the commission was concerned that because there weren't any specific uses designated, that they were really concerned to that they wanted to limit what could go on there without having it come back before them. And I think that in combination with the adjacent residential areas to the west, or to the east and to the south, caused the commission to enact this condition within the ordinance, which again prohibited special uses to be located on that property. So that's the first item that you're asked to eliminate Condition 11, which prohibited any special uses on the site. The second is then to authorize or approve a special use permit to allow an animal hospital to be located at the current location. And they can talk to you about their business and operations there, et cetera, et cetera. I would also note, for the record, I did receive a comment from an adjacent property owner, a resident in Lincolnshire, who had previously been before the commission when the original shopping center was considered. They noted that some of the landscaping that had been planted along the south side of the building, between the building and the existing driveway, which provides access to a home way to the east of this site, some of that has died or disappeared through the years. And what they had requested was that landscaping be reestablished by the property owner. So I would suggest, as a part of your deliberation, that you may want to include this as an additional condition of approval. And between the petitioner and myself, we'll communicate with the property owner to ensure that the landscaping plan and those plants approved as a part of that plan are reestablished, reinstalled, or replaced because they're in poor health currently. So with that, I can answer any questions, or you can turn it over to the petitioners.
I did have a question. Did the conditions change from what we approved at our meeting versus what the village board approved?
No,
Because
no, they reflected,
in my minutes, this condition would be condition number 12.
let me check the ordinance real quick.
Not that it matters a whole lot, but the content you refer to is correct. While you're, as long as we're waiting, if each one of you could introduce and say who you are. And if you have a business card, if you could turn that in, John.
I got it.
You have to talk at, the one rule we have is you have to talk at the microphone or the mobile microphone, which is there also.
My name is Jerry Majewski. I'm the attorney for the petitioners, Dan Markwalder, Dr. Scott Peterwright, and Dr. Joe Whalen, who are to my left.
Dan Markwalder, one of the petitioners, a veterinarian.
My name is Dr. Scott Peterwright. I'm a village resident as well.
And Joe Whalen.
It is number 11. The approved ordinance is, it
Okay,
does state
right.
number 11, so.
Okay, with that, your name's in the record. Do you want to give any other introduction, or do they just want?
No, I think it's probably appropriate at this point to have them, describe their business and what they're going to do at that location, and then answer any questions that the commission has. I would acknowledge we did receive Section 18.3, and that's in your packet. And so from them, I'd let them do the talking right now.
Dan, you want to step
So,
up?
sure. Let me give you just a little bit of background of who these three people are. We're veterinarians. We happen to graduate the same year, 1991. Myself, I'm a graduate of Purdue University School of Veterinary Medicine. These two guys are graduates from the second best veterinary school in the country, University of Illinois. I say that all joking. It's equally a good school. So anyway, we, between the three of us, we have, I want to say, 7 veterinary practices, all around the area. Also, Dr. Whalen has a animal rehabilitation facility as well. We employ about 24 veterinarians amongst our different facilities. Our passion is we are clinical practitioners. We love being veterinarians. We love what we do. We have a deep passion about that. But we also, as I mentioned, we have multiple practices. How this came together was Scott, who is a resident of Vernon Hills, came to Joe and I and said, Vernon Hills is underserved as it relates to small animal veterinary medicine. He did some research to show us that really it needs about 3 to 4 additional veterinarians. And we are very similar in our practice philosophy and our practice medicine. Though we have multiple practices with multiple veterinarians, we very much want to be part of the communities that we serve. And so we started doing some research and looking at sites within Vernon Hills. My background is I have 4 practices, 3 of which I started from scratch, all 3 in what I would call retail or strip retail commercial locations. That's an ideal location for veterinarians. That's not, you would naturally think, well, why is that the case? You would think more of a professional, like a medical doctor practice. Our bread is buttered, if you will, by high traffic, high visible locations. And so when we saw this site, which already contains, I believe, a chiropractor, we immediately fell in love with the area. Everybody knows that's a very high traffic area. And most of our clients come within a 3 to 5 mile radius. About 85 to 90% of our client base comes within that 3 to 5 mile radius. So Scott can share with you some of the demographics and so forth that led us to that site and led us to strong consideration. So with that said, we met with Steve Cardell, who's a broker, and then we met with the landlord, showed him our plans, showed him what we've done in the past with some of the other locations and so forth, and he was on board. So what our desire to do is to be a general veterinary practice, exclusive to small animals. For First and foremost, we will not be doing any boarding. There will be no overnight boarding or day boarding. We're going to be strictly the practice of veterinary medicine. What does that entail? Full-service veterinary care, so preventative care, wellness exams. We'll have surgical care, so we'll have a surgical suite in there. We'll have a dental suite. We'll obviously have examination rooms. And then we'll obviously diagnose and treat disease. Fully equipped radiography, ultrasonography, so it's to be a fully equipped practice. Our desire is to hire the best, get them equipped, give them a facility that's commensurate with the best veterinary care, and let them go, give them the autonomy, and that's where we come into play. We have between us three, believe it or not, over 60 years of veterinary experience. We love to mentor and bring veterinarians into our organizations that are the best and the brightest. So what we would bring to the table is cutting-edge veterinary medicine that has a local flair that's 7 days a week. So one of the things that Vernon Hills does not have is 7-day-a-week care, preventative care, medical care, those types of things. So we're going to be open 7 days a week as well. So that's what we're about. Again, just to reiterate, we're not going to be doing boarding. The facility would not even allow for boarding. We're talking about an 1,800 square foot, so it wouldn't even allow for boarding. So there'd be no day boarding, no overnight boarding as well. With that said, do you gentlemen want to add anything?
I think I might add, since I came to Dan and Joe regarding starting a practice in veterinary in Vernon Hills, we're underserved. I know that. If you look at the numbers on how many households in Vernon Hills, average number of dogs owned by households, what percentage of households own dogs, and the same for cats. Again, we need 3 to 4 more full-time veterinary equivalent employees or veterinarians in the area. I live in Greg's Landing. I have numerous neighbors that either come to me in Mount Prospect and drive easily 14 miles, or go to Libertyville or Buffalo Grove, other areas to seek veterinary care. In Vernon Hills, we have 2 options for veterinary care. One is in PetSmart, and the other one is right here, VCA. These are large corporate conglomerates, and the care there, I think, is not what we could provide. I think we can provide a lot better care. When you get to these large conglomerates, a lot of the care is cookie-cutter approach. This is what you need to sell. This is what you need to do. You need to follow these guidelines, and that's not the way to practice medicine. That's not what I believe our residents want for their pet care. I guess if you have any questions, we'd be happy to answer.
You'll have some biomedical waste. How will you handle that? Well, first, maybe a question for John first. How do they handle the trash at that facility? Is there one collection for all the tenants?
Yeah, at the north end of the property, there's a site plan in your packet. They handle it at the north end, and there's an enclosure area at that north end. I think you can see it maybe in the aerial. You see it in the aerial?
Okay, all right. Mm-hmm. Okay, so they all use the same one.
Yes.
So this waste would have to be treated differently then?
Yeah, well, there's 2 issues with waste. One is pet waste, dog poop, if you will, that it's handled like anyone walking down the street and picking up the waste. Medical waste would be used syringes, scalpels, catheters, things like that. We traditionally hire out with a medical waste disposal company, and you accumulate maybe a 5-gallon bucket full, possibly this place,
maybe.
if that.
Yeah.
So there's biomedical waste companies that would come and pick up this waste and dispose of it properly.
That would be kept in your facility until it's picked
Yeah,
up?
much like you see in the bathrooms with diabetic needles go in, once they fill up, a biomedical waste disposal company takes care of it, yeah.
And how will you, and notice that you'll sometimes have to walk the pets outside. How will you maintain the cleanliness of the facility and the grounds?
I'll have Dan answer that since.
Sure, since I've got a number of facilities around retail areas, matter of fact, I'm next to a pizza place, so these are always concerns that are addressed. First of all, it's important that we always have a staff member taking an animal out. We double leash, so not only the concern is the waste, but gosh forbid if an animal ever got loose. So we do a double leash by a staff member that's been trained. Second, if that animal does eliminate, have a bowel movement, that waste is picked up and brought into the facility right then and there. Now the question comes into play is what happens if a client is bringing their animal into the facility and the animal has waste in the sidewalk or what have you as they're walking in. What we typically do is throughout the day, because not every client will tell you, the hope is that they will, but that doesn't always happen. And because our patients do get scared, they will eliminate before they walk into the door. So we'll obviously police the area. I mean, the reality is this. We want to be commensurate with like a human hospital. So smell and noise and all those things are as much of a concern for you. It's more of a concern for us. Because people have certain expectation when they walk into a veterinary clinic, and that begins before they walk into a veterinary clinic. So that's one of the reasons we picked this facility. It's very nice, it's very well kept, except for obviously the vegetation on the south side, but all those things appeal to us. So that starts the moment that client drives up to that facility. So short answer is we're going to place that area throughout the day.
Are any of your other facilities in the strip center such as this?
Yes, I have one, currently I have one in Geneva. That's right next to a Cleaners, Pizza, a 7-Eleven.
Okay, and have you been ever cited by the village in that facility?
Never. As a matter of fact, in my Algonquin location, we got Landscape of the Year award 3 years in a row. Now, some people jokingly say it's because you have lots of fertilizer. Not true. So, never been cited.
Okay, thank you.
Now, you're not going to put any type of enclosure or fenced-in area outside the back door? Okay.
See, the reality is most of the patients that we're going to have in this facility throughout the day are going to be one of two. Surgical patients, so sedated, under anesthesia, that's going to really preclude them from going outside, or hospitalized patients. So really the outdoor usage is very minimal and really doesn't allow for a fenced-in area, those types of things.
One of the concerns that I remember way back when we looked at this site originally was that there's not a whole lot of parking and getting in and out of the site and everything. And I don't, as far as is the rest of the building occupied right now?
I think there's one vacant space right now.
Okay.
But at one time, I believe the center was completely full.
Okay, and I don't drive by it every day, so
Yeah.
I have no idea what the parking lot
No.
looks like as far as use and everything. But I guess the question is, how many customers
Yeah.
do you have at
Yeah.
a set time that are either in the rooms or in the waiting area? I mean, how many cars are we looking at a maximum amount of time?
That is a great question because that is something that I look at, having experience of being in retail. We all know retail, lots of traffic. We like lots of traffic, but the reality is parking can always be an issue, and I've been in situations like that. What drew me to this facility as well is parking is fairly ample. As far as in veterinary, because you do have some retail, but you've got some professional, like a chiropractor. As far as our traffic flow is going to be lower than a traditional retail. We see a patient once every half an hour. So with one doctor, you're looking at 2 patients an hour. So our turnover is going to be much less than a traditional retail, commercial retail facility that's in there. So you're looking at, on an hourly basis, probably 2 cars, maybe 3 cars.
Okay, I asked because I think you have 3 exam rooms.
Yes.
So I envision, my trips with my children to the doctor's office where we're all waiting in exam rooms.
Right.
The doctor to get to all of us.
Yeah, that's where it's a little different. People's expectation when they visit a veterinary clinic is very different. You know and I know, when we take the kids to the pediatrician, it's a half a day. You're going to wait for an hour and a half. That is a very different, and if you don't believe me, ask your wife. People don't wait for veterinarians. The expectation is radically different. As a matter of fact, the number one reason, this was published recently, that people leave a veterinary practice is waits. It's a very different expectation. So turnover, and the reason for the multiple exam is we recognize the turnover is very important. You will very seldom see people waiting in lobbies for a very long stretch. It's a very different expectation.
There was a study, I forget what the numbers were, but the average wait time in a human facility to see the doctor before people really start getting upset is a half hour. It's 12 minutes for veterinary medicine. So, yeah, it's an old
One
fact.
trick I learned, when you make a medical doctor appointment, ask for the first appointment after lunch, and you get seen. But no, so that's, yeah, there you go.
I'm a little concerned about noise. Your adjacent neighbor would be a day spa, and obviously they want relaxation and no noise there, or a different type of noise. And I was just wondering if you have any additional soundproofing or anything?
Yeah, typically what we do and what we've done with these types of centers in the past, and if you like, we have our general contractors who's built, I think, about 60 or 70 different veterinary hospitals. He's built 2 of my facilities. We do a double layer of drywall all the way up to the ceiling deck. To give you an example, I have a facility in South Elgin. We happen to be right next to a neurologist who takes care of many end-stage Parkinson's and so forth. And his concern initially was, hey, what's the noise? And what we found is it really isn't a concern. Am I going to say 100% there's never going to be noise? Absolutely not. I mean, I was at one point next to a taekwondo, and you talk about noise, lots of noise, and it's certainly not to that level.
Do you know what STC rating your perimeter walls give you?
I'm going to have to, now you're out of my territory. Let me just introduce, this is Jason Sanderson of RWE Management. Jason, how many veterinary clinics have you built?
It's up to 75 or 80.
75, so.
It would, ultimately, the architect will do full drawings and we'll put an STC rating on it, but it'll be close to 60.
Okay.
So it'll depend I don't know what the existing demising wall is right now, if it's how they've done it. If they have 2 layers on their side insulated and then, so.
Okay.
I only have one question. How many vets are you going to have working out of this facility? You had indicated maybe 4, 5?
Oh, no, I'm sorry. Initially we'll hire, we'll only have 1 veterinarian on at a time. We're looking to hire 1 full-time, 1 part-time to cover the hours, but one veterinarian.
So 2 people basically working in this facility at one time, a majority of the days?
2, possibly 3.
2, possibly 3.
I'm sorry, your hours of operation, the printout I have says 8 a.m. to something p.m., but it doesn't say what.
Oh, I'm sorry, you're right. It should be 8 a.m. to 8 p.m., Monday through Friday.
I have a question. Is the owner of the center or a representative of the center here?
He's not.
Can anybody speak on his behalf? No. I'm a little surprised. That's interesting. All right, well then, then I don't have anything to say to them.
John, did any of the surrounding neighbors or businesses have any comments?
Businesses, no. Just the adjacent property owners that I referenced. Other than that, no.
Can we do anything in that regard to, since there is no representative from the property owner
Yeah,
here?
you can attach a condition to it. Because again, they're here as the petitioner representing the owner. The owner is giving them authorization to make this petition. And it can be applied as a condition of approval that the property owner has to reestablish and bring that landscape plan up to, compliance with what was previously approved.
Is that just the comment of an individual, or did somebody go verify?
I got that tonight about an hour ago. So we can definitely verify it once the snow comes off the ground and everything like that. So, and they'll be working on plans, and they'll be going through the build-out process and everything like that. So I think we have time to be able to A, do the inspection, and B, to get the property owner to get this taken care of.
And what were your plans for opening? When
Our goal would be is, if we receive an affirmation to the process here, is we're anticipating about a 8-week build-out. So June, July.
snow will be melted hopefully by then.
It's going to be a cold spring, though.
Okay, anything else?
I just have a general comment about your hours. Being a pet owner, thank you,
Thank you, appreciate that.
because
Yeah, on a
It's very
Sunday, you're driving to
difficult.
Grays Lake or Buffalo Grove, and there's not a lot around.
Okay. This is a public hearing, so if this time we'll ask if there are any comments or questions from the public. Seeing there's no great rush up to the microphone, I would like to close the public portion hearing of this meeting. And there are no further questions. Okay, we have a standing motion to approve. So we would recommend approval to amend the conditions of approval in the existing special use permit as set forth in ordinance 2006-77 to eliminate condition number 11, which prohibited any special use on the property. You want to do them
We should do it separately.
separate?
Yeah,
Okay. Conditions are going to apply to both of them, then?
correct.
And these are subject to the following conditions. No non-medical related kenneling of pets or animals or daycare services shall be provided at this location. Number 2, the business owner will provide pet waste cleanup options outside the building, or as staff shall immediately clean up any pet waste found on the property. And 3, it is understood that pets may periodically be walked by the staff on the grounds located on the east side of the building, and any waste shall be immediately cleaned up. And a 4th condition now has been added, and that is the restoration of the landscape to a status similar to what was originally approved for the facilities when it was approved back in 2006.
Yeah, that would be pursuant to the approved landscape plan. So you need a second.
And do you have a second for that motion?
He's going to do the whole building.
Okay, we have a second. Any comments? Call the roll.
Mr. Baloo?
Yes.
Ms. Cotton?
Yes.
Mr. Hesner?
Yes.
Mr. Heidner?
Yes.
Mr. Mulcrone?
Yes.
Mr. Gorog?
Yes.
Okay, the second motion is to recommend approval of a special use permit to allow an animal hospital known as Companion Animal Hospital to be located in Suite 101 on the legally described property. And once again, all those 4 conditions apply to this motion. Can I have a second?
I'll second.
Okay, we have a motion and a second. Any comments? Okay. Call the roll.
Mr. Gorog?
Yes.
Mr. Mulcrone?
Yes.
Mr. Heidner?
Yes.
Mr. Hesner?
Yes.
Ms. Cotton? Yes. Mr. Baloo?
Yes.
Okay, motion carries.
Great. Right now, this item will be forwarded on to the village board at its Wednesday, March 19th meeting. So you all need to plan to be there.
Thank you very much.
Thanks.
Thank you.
Yeah, and the property owner may want to show up at that meeting.
All right.
7 o'clock.
Thank you.
It'll be at the committee of the whole, so it'll follow right after the end of the regular meeting, so.
Okay. We don't have any development or review,
No, sir.
and any other things that we need to know about?
We are coming down to the end of the interview process for the new assistant manager, director of community development. So potentially the next time we see you, I may have somebody in tow with me to replace me. So, so just kind of a heads up more than anything else. So,
Did you have both of those roles previously?
yeah.
Oh.
And then we're looking at a number of things. The former Mickey Weiss office building there at the northwest corner of Milwaukee and Town Line, that 3-story office building there, or 2-story, I'm sorry. They are proposing to demolish that building and reconstruct the site with a couple of additional 2 buildings and doing some things there. That's coming. Menards is now proceeding slowly and cautiously, but we'll see those guys in a couple of months. So those are the 2 big things that are coming right now. As you see, the mall's now under full construction. Their opening dates have all been pushed back. Dave & Buster's is slated to open on the 24th of March. Invitations are going to be sent out for the day before for the grand opening, ribbon cutting type thing, so you'll see something for that. Maggiano's is middle to end of May. The theater is proposed for the spring. I don't have a date yet. They've run into some conditions on the site that were unanticipated, bad soils basically, and they're drilling holes for caissons and going to be pouring a lot of concrete, a lot more than they anticipated. So, I don't have a date yet on that. And then there's also some word that they're going to be remodeling the food court area at some point, and they have sometime in the fall, having that completed. So, there's a lot of work that's going to be going on at that location, and you know, it's a real good thing out there, to say the least. So. Couple other things. Tilted Kilt now is talking about moving to the former Famous Dave's location. So you guys won't see anything with regards to that unless they do extensive changes to the property, and we haven't seen plans yet. And then their building, the current building over on Milwaukee, is going to be demolished and rebuilt. They're going to reorient the building. They're going to rotate it about 30 degrees, so it's parallel to the road. They're going to divide it into 2 spaces, one of which will be a restaurant with a drive-through condition. And I'm assuming we'll see that sometime during the summertime. And then the final thing, and I don't know where this is right now timeline-wise, is we're still working with Loyola on possible development of the north part of that site. So I'll have more information for you as we go along. Right now, it's just being talked about as a single-family development at this time, and we've asked them not only to do that plan, which they are proposing, but also to master plan the entire site so that, you know, it's not divided up into bits and pieces. It's master planned. So we'll see where that one goes ultimately. I don't know when that one will come to you guys. There's a lot of moving parts at this point, one of which is the county is involved with that. So I don't know when we'll see that come forward at this time. So
This is the Loyola site?
yeah, the north side of the
Why
museum.
is the county involved?
Well, if you remember, Many years ago, as a part of the annexation agreement, there was a covenant placed on certain parcels that prohibited residential development from occurring. The museum site, which is about 90 acres, was one of those sites. And so the county was part of the greater land management agreement, kind of like pet waste.
Yeah.
Land management agreement. Those covenants were part of that land management agreement. So the agreement has to be amended, the covenants have to be amended, so the county is directly involved with that. They passed ordinances up there that provided utility services and allowed us to do densities and created the Greg's Parkway, which was the connector road between Butterfield and Milwaukee, and they signed off on all that as a part of this larger development. Again, the covenants that prohibited residential on that site applied to the museum site. It applied to the northeast corner, Milwaukee and 60. It also applied to the two commercial parcels up in front of Greg's Landing on north and south sides of Greg's Parkway. So to be able to put residential on the museum site requires that the county agree to lift that condition and those covenants. So. And then they have to agree to provide full utility services. That was not required as a part of the land management agreement. It was I think it was a giveaway to the property owner who didn't want to be forced to bring utilities onto the site. They had a well, they had septic fields, they had everything that functioned there, and it would have just been an additional cost. So yeah, so that agreement will have to be expanded. So. And Loyal is looking to try to do some things to further its mission on the site. One of the larger missions, besides the educational part of this, is also to try to preserve the museum and the manor home. And from what I understand, if I recall correctly, the museum and the mansion, kind of one and the same, need somewhere in the neighborhood of about $5 million worth of more work. It's a wonderful building, and it hasn't been taken care of for years, and so it leaks. It has some very interesting atrium windows and areas that are non-functional, and again leak, and they have to be restored. The windows all need to be restored. And there's some internal mechanical work that still needs to be done there. Loyola has spent in excess of $1 million inside the building just to try to stabilize it, yeah. And that's been HVAC and electrical work primarily. In fact, there's no C in there. There's only HVA. So that's a whole other issue. But that's part of their mission besides doing the educational components on the site. So we'll see. We'll see.
Is the catering banquet facility carrying its own weight?
You know what? It's doing okay. They've done some operational changes to it that's going to impact its revenue a little bit. But the banquet, wedding, reception type activities there seem to be doing well. I don't know if it's breaking even or not, but they're doing well enough to keep going. So, and from what I understand, they have a full slate of summer classes that are scheduled for the property, coming up from the university out here. So you can take a number of classes out there if you want. So they're doing what they can do to operate the facility within the guidelines of the gift that was provided to them, and also within the guidelines of the university and how they operate. So it's a challenge, and part of the way that they're trying to offset some of these costs is through subdividing a portion of it and doing some things like that. So we'll see. I think that's it for right now. We don't have another meeting scheduled at this point, although I would anticipate that we'll see something either late March or early April at this point, early mid-April. I can answer any questions that you all might have, and if not, that's all I got.
Okay. All right, the last item on the agenda is approval of the minutes from the January 29th, 2014 meeting. I have a motion to approve.
Second.
Oh, you have a change.
I have a change. On page 4, I actually, the first item, well, it was item 2, I voted no for the logo. And so the vote was 6-1.
Page 4, I'm sorry.
Sorry, page 4.
Yep.
The vote, I had voted no for the logo.
Which,
I was the-
which number?
The first,
Said number
well, number
2,
2, which is on page.
Oh, I got it.
Yeah.
3.
So I had voted no for the logo, and so the vote would have been 6-1. Because that was the only vote
Yeah.
against it.
Okay, we'll make that change.
Okay, this person who, you second? Can you, will you accept that, change?
Third.
Okay, we have a motion to approve the minutes as amended, and second, we have a roll call. Or I guess we want to do it by acclamation. All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Aye. Opposed? Okay, motion carries. Then the last, okay, I have a motion to adjourn.
Second.
Motion and a second, all in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Aye. Opposed? We are adjourned.
Thank you.